astrologers have great power and great privilege because we see things and understand things that other people don't see. And also with my psychology background, I'm also a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, story and the mind is really powerful. If you go into the week thinking the week is going to be terrible, it's probably going to be a really bad week. If you are open-minded and you are just aware of ways to mitigate things that could come up, it's neutral. You allow for good things to happen. You allow for bad or annoying things to happen, which, by the way, could happen regardless of the astrological weather. When people are making you feel afraid or telling you who you are without asking you, they're putting themselves in the power seat when the reality is you know yourself best.
Being limitless is knowing your success and your growth are built on a radical belief in yourself. Limitless is honoring your purpose, your health, and impact above all else. Limitless is never playing small because the more alive you feel in your life, the more growth and success you attract. Hi, my name is Jamie Ratermann, and I am a holistic business coach, meaning I am just as invested in growing your health as I am in growing your wealth. With 11 plus years in brand and social media marketing, I help rebellious entrepreneurs master marketing, embody leadership, and say fuck it to the hustle. This show is here to encourage you to become more radically aware of your self-imposed limits, to break free of your shoulds, and to expand your brand into a movement led by you. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to another episode of the Limitless Podcast. I am geeking out. I'm excited. We're going to be talking about how the universe has our back today. We're going to be talking about how we get to know ourselves because we have the one and only Sofia Alder here with us. So Sofia, to me, is someone who has absolutely helped me understand more of myself through understanding my astrology, and also to release some control about how I expect things to happen and how I can lean into the energy of the universe, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today. But what I love most about Sofia is that she's not your average astrology expert, aka she's not going to tell you, oh, this is the worst time, oh, mercury in retrograde, oh, all of those things that we see on the internet that can feel like almost like scare tactics when it comes to these things. I find her to be a bold and honest voice, and she'll tell you with her Aries sun and moon. I think, are you triple Aries if I remember correctly?
I'm a triple Aries, but it's my sun, my Mercury, and my Venus, all in Aries.
All of the things. We'll talk about that in a second. That she likes to be that bold voice. So I am so excited to have her here. I recently was talking about everything I learned in Cosmic Circle when we were getting into an episode, and I felt that it was time for you all to understand the energies of the universe and how it can be really supportive to, get into your own vibe. But Sofia, thank you so much for coming today.
Oh my God, what a generous and sweet intro. Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I love you. I love Limitless. I love astrology. And I feel like this is a really good time for us to be chatting too, because when we're recording this, we're actually going into a week that people who like to make astrology a scary thing are like having a field day this week. And so I'm really fired up about that not happening for all of my clients and all of my members and my community and all my people. So I'm excited to share that knowledge here too.
I love it. I'm so happy to have you. So it's really an interesting career you chose. Tell us a little bit about what made you decide to be this type of entrepreneur.
Yeah. So if you had asked me even 5 years ago where I would be or what I would be doing, I never in 1,000 years would have told you that I would have chosen to become an astrologer. There's this famous saying, and I honestly at this moment in time can't think of who it's by, but there's this saying, that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And for me, astrology was definitely that teacher. I have a master's degree from Columbia University in psychology and education with a concentration in mind-body practice and a coaching emphasis. And when I graduated from my master's degree, I opened up my own shop. I had a mindfulness and mindset coaching company for individuals and companies was honestly really successful, but I didn't feel completely fulfilled. And after one of my favorite people back in New York, where I'm from, gave me the nudge to go do something for fun and something to enjoy, because at that point in time, I was doing everything as a means for an end to promote and build my business, I started studying astrology. I loved it. I thought it was cool. And I just wanted to do something for me. I didn't go into that course expecting or planning to become an astrologer. It just happened. I discovered I was really good at it. I started doing readings. It totally took off. I no longer had that insatiable quest for something more. And I never looked back. So, yes, it's definitely a unique path. Like all of my friends that I grew up with are lawyers and consultants and they work in tech and, HR. And I am an astrologer. So couldn't imagine being anywhere else, but also at the same time, never where I would have imagined that I would end up.
I love that though. I mean, I think that's really what can be fun about choosing. I mean, even though you're saying like, oh, I chose this path and I did these things, being an entrepreneur is still a bold thing to do. Like, I'm like, oh, I want to make this astrology thing a whole thing. And I've had friends who are lawyers and are now entrepreneurs, but also too, I've had people who go like, really, you're going to make a choice just to do that? And there's that, even though they may have the 9 to 5 jobs, they like look at how fun it must be to just follow a passion and make it into generating wealth for you, which is amazing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I will say this for anybody that has a dream or wants to become an entrepreneur, but is worried about what people will say or think of them. I come from a relatively traditional background. I grew up in New York. I went to private school. I went to college. I got a master's degree. And my dad's a doctor. My mom works in advertising. I was really scared to tell my world that I was pivoting my business and becoming an astrologer. Like I was so worried about what people were going to say and what they were going to think of me. And the joke was on me because everyone was so supportive and so excited. Nobody cared. And it was really proof that when you are doing the thing that you're meant to do, even if it's off the beaten path or unexpected or something that I didn't even expect for myself, nobody says a word. Nobody cares. I think we forget that like your loved ones, your friends, they just want you to be happy.
They're true loved ones. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree. I
Like
absolutely
they
agree.
just want you to be happy. So yeah, that's my story.
I love it. And I think there's such a testament to that to be said. Like there's the jobs and there's the choices that are logical, but that can burn you out in the long term because you're sitting there going like, I want I don't want to do this all day. Like I'm spending 40 plus hours every week, like making sure these things happen, like finding something that you can absolutely love to do. And it turns into a business. That's what's lovely about entrepreneurship, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Sophie, I'm so happy to have you. I can't wait. I
Me
just want to dig
too.
in. I'm just ready to dig in. But
Let's
just
do
like
it.
piggybacking off of that conversation, and even too, as I was listening to your weekly weather report this morning, um, my fiance was like, "So you believe in all that stuff?" And I was like, "Ah," and I had my own perspective on how I see it, but I want to kind of just pose this question right at the beginning. What do you say to people that say like, astrology is a whole bunch of like boo hockey, like psychic, fortune teller type things?
Yeah. Is boo hockey like a Midwest thing? Is that an Ohio
I
thing?
have a feeling, probably.
I've just never heard it before. I love it. I'm taking it and making it my own. Yeah. So I am not the astrologer that's going to convince anyone to believe in or love astrology. That's kind of my general MO. And I will say the best place to start with astrology is to get curious. And what I mean by that is without making a judgment about whether you think astrology is real or not real, just hear what an astrologer has to say, hear about the astrological weather, which ultimately means like what's happening in present day cosmically, and then just reflect on if and how you see it come to life through your own lived experience. If that doesn't resonate for you, like if astrology as a tool doesn't support you in your own journey and your own quest for personal growth and personal understanding, cool. What I will say is that I have never met anybody in my life. I have done hundreds of astrology readings. I've never met anybody that doesn't resonate with what I reflect back to them based on their chart. Ever.
I could only imagine how well you get to know people in that process, because I think the way I relate to it, and I or at least the way I've learned about it, is that it feels a lot like how people would use human design, or how someone might use like Myers-Briggs, and being able to, they even use like very similar, like where were you born, how, like what time were you born, like all of the similar like markers of that. And then also too, through Sophia, I've learned that we don't have to feel controlled by it. I'm a Gemini sun and a Capricorn moon and a Cancer rising, which we'll get into in just a second. But a lot of people have these preconditioned ideas of what a Gemini is, and I'm like, and I don't agree with some of them, mostly because with some of what people say, but it's like not fully understanding what the energy of these signs can be and how you get to internalize them. So I think that's like what can be important about it, is that the exactly what I was talking about, why I like Sophia before, is that there is some, like people poke fun about astrology that can make us feel like it's like it can be a negative force, when in general it can be just a wonderful way to understand yourself better.
Yeah, it's to your point about Myers-Briggs and stuff like that. I see astrology as like the oldest kind of self-understanding tool in the books. Astrology's been around since the BC era. Astrology used to be reserved for royalty, right? Because the leaders of countries and communities, they didn't want like everyday people to have access to the ability to kind of understand what was going on in the world. Like it's actually a pretty big deal that astrology is now very commonplace and available for everyone. And also, farmers, people who are in agriculture, people who tend to the land, our good friend Diana Davis, in one of her podcasts, she talked about how, what was it? Well, something, how her dad goes out on the farm and, is always kind of checking to see what's going on. It's like syncing your life with the planets, with the moon, with Mercury, with the sun, all of those things. This is not like a revolutionary or woo-woo practice. This is actually incredibly practical and a practice that has been done for centuries. And that's also honestly what sets astrology apart from other, personal growth, self-help tools like human design or the like, because it's been around like forever, ultimately.
I love that though. I didn't realize that royalty was the only people that had access to it before. So we're all a little more royal now. I even find that to be like, it just seems silly to, we know that the moon affects our weather. We know how like just in general, how certain things that happen on the planet affect like more physical, let's say, things in our environment. That why wouldn't we believe that it can affect our energy as humans living on the planet that we're in? Like being able to, like, it just seems like it makes sense.
Yeah, like women bleed with the moon. The moon affects the tides, the moon affects water. Hospitals have more blood on site during full moons because they expect more accidents. You talk to any teacher, especially teachers of toddlers, little kids, full moons, their kids are crazy. It's not something that's talked about all the time, but because I'm an astrologer, people talk about it to me, right? Like they admit to me of like, oh my God, my kids are crazy. Like what is going on? Or this happened or that happened, like it's a lot more commonplace as well than I think people realize. And going back to your original question on, what do you say to people that think astrology is a load of BS? More is more. If you are looking for guidance and support through life, if you're moving through something big, if you're going through a transition, if you want to understand yourself, you want to be kind to yourself, love yourself more, why not lean into multiple sources of support? I went back to graduate school to get my master's in psychology, thinking that that was the only thing that I needed, and was wildly disappointed to graduate and realize that I still had the same itch to find something more out there after I studied the mind in like the most understood, expected way. It was only when I added astrology in that I stopped having that need for something else, because I realized firsthand, you can't just look at the mind. You can't just look at like the logical human. You have to incorporate the soul. You have to incorporate the other, your energy, things that are going on. Again, like energy is not woo-woo. Energy is quantum physics.
Absolutely.
To me, I take an approach of both and, right? Like try it out. If it doesn't resonate for you, awesome. If it does, welcome.
Yeah. At its basic level, like I would say understanding these things and being in Sophia's world, I feel deeply reflective. I feel grounded. I understand seasonality, but even too, I think there's just this side of why not feel like we have this energy that gets to support us. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think and that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit is that whenever we are talking about our signs, even right now we're in Pisces season, we're about to go into Aries season.
Yeah, we are.
When we talk about all of these things, they're the energy of what's happening. So can you talk to us a little bit about, the big things that are going on now, and like what we can look forward to when we're thinking about the energy of let's say the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are right now in Pisces season. Seasons in astrology are determined by where the sun is in the sky. So the sun right now is passing over the Pisces constellation in the solar system. And Pisces season is as much about beginnings as it is endings. Pisces is sensitive, emotive, the mystic, spiritual, connected, very creative. Pisces is also what's called a mutable sign. Mutability in astrology represents, an energy that is shifting and changing and wants freedom and flexibility. We are in Pisces season, the last month of winter. We're all starting to feel that shift as the weather starts to change. As I took my dog for a walk yesterday and started to notice the crocuses popping up, and it is an ending, right? We are starting to shift out of this very inwards focused time and get ready for spring, to spring forth, quite literally, into something new. Pisces is a water season. So again, this is a good time to be dreaming and ideating and imagining, thinking about as we enter a brand new year, because Aries season in astrology is the start of the astrological new year. I really like the astrological calendar because it's synced up with nature, right? It's a little weird that January 1st is the first of the year when it's the dead of winter and everything outside of us it's not actually dead, right? But the trees are bare, the ground is frozen, everything is inside. So we're coming up on a period to begin again, to start fresh, to see things differently, to get excited, to have that spark. And now is the time when the seed is underground, right? Whenever we are planting something, we put the seed in the earth first, we cover it, we water it. That's the season that we're in now. This is the time.
I love this though, with what you were saying just about January 1st, is that I think this is like such a big, it's such a big idea when it comes to, like me, all of us walking into New Year's resolution time, and we're coming up against an energy that doesn't feel natural to us. So so I think that was what was really lovely, even especially this year, that there was a lot of things happening where like we wanted more rest. You can tell me specifically seasons and all of the things because you're that expert. But I remember being like, I feel like I should be high energy, and I was like Sophia, I should be high energy. I should be on top of these things. But intuitively, energetically, it was like, why are we trying to push ourselves when we're feeling like this? And then even part of her cosmic circle community, there was all of these other women saying the exact same thing, going, I need another week or two of rest, or I can't just like run into this adrenaline fueled resolution season. And recently, as of last week, I believe, is you're like, okay guys, if you're starting to feel the like goals, vibes, movement, energy, movement, like that's what's happening right now with how the planets are aligning. And I was like, how lovely is it that intuitively I was like, I don't feel like it's resolution season for me in January. And society, or in general the economic calendar, is telling me that I'm wrong in some ways. And being able to say, or I can at least decide how I want to interpret this a little bit differently based off of how the energy that the planets are giving me right now. And I think that felt more aligned than, how we're kind of like, it's really shoved down our throats that it's like high energy, go, go, go whenever January begins.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was daylight savings yesterday. I am a morning person. When I got up today at 6 and it was pitch black outside, it was a struggle. 2 days ago, when it was light out at 6, it was easy, right? So it makes sense that when it's the dead of winter, the nights are longer than the days, it's cold outside. of course you don't want to get up and rally and get super excited. For the people listening to this who are like, but I love New Year's and I get so excited. Amazing. But for the majority of people who, right, it's like we amp ourselves up to be something that we're not. That one of the greatest gifts that astrology gives us is permission to be ourselves, to stop worrying and wasting time because we fear that we're not on track or we're doing something wrong, and instead just enjoy ourselves and enjoy our lives more, because we're able to see, oh, there's this larger cycle at play. There's this larger rhythm that's going on here. And I know that it's working out for me, because if I'm not jazzed to get started now, I know that in weeks' time, months' time, I am going to be. So can I allow myself to actually winter so that I'm ready and rested and excited for spring?
I like that. I love that. So being able to just allow ourselves to lean into seasons in general, and then even more so reflecting on the how the planets are going to align with us as well. But
Yeah.
I interrupted you. We're about to head into Aries season. So tell us
Yeah,
what's coming
girl.
up.
So the last thing I'll say about Pisces season is that, this is the time to dream, to ideate, to plant the seeds, to think about how you want to feel, because come Aries season, that's the spark. That's the fresh start. Aries is a fire sign. It's about taking initiative. It's about excitement. It's about inspiration, gut knowings, intuition, and just going with it. Aries season is a fresh start. It is a new beginning. The key word for Aries is courage. The root of courage is cœur, which means heart in French. It's like Aries season is the brazen, not holding back, high energy, just go, go, go. It is, if I was to give an example, it's like the way that you feel on a Saturday morning when you're walking to the farmer's market, that first warm day in spring, and you have a pep in your step, you're excited, you have so much energy, you want to do all the things, and you feel alive. That's what Aries season is all about. Excuse me. And, so we're kind of moving from this watery emotional depths of Pisces, and we're drying out in the fiery heat of Aries. It's an exciting time.
Yeah.
It is a take no prisoners time. It's a very fast pace. Like I remember last year, Aries season, myself, all my clients, anybody I talked to was like, just very fast, like so much going on. And then the next season, Taurus season came, and everyone was like, whoo, can't keep that up forever. So happy I get to chill and slow down now.
I love
but in
that
short, an oomph is coming.
An oomph is coming. It's on its way. Just because we're talking about seasons, does it matter what area of the world you're in whenever like seasons adjust? Like clearly, like Australia is probably in like a summer season right now.
It does and it doesn't. I would say it's very minimal. So, when you look up astrological seasons, you'll typically see fluctuation of days. And the reason is that seasons change based on where the sun is in the sky. So, based on time zones, Australia might have something happen a day later, because based on kind of where we are in the world. So maybe there's a 1 day kind of shift, but otherwise it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, it works across the board for sure.
Yeah.
I love that though. And just because I'm finishing my Aries year,
Yeah, girl.
I have 2 months left. I will say the way that I've learned about Aries season is just break shit, like do the thing, be bold, like don't worry. Like for any of my perfectionists and people pleasers in the world, Aries season is the thing of like release that, like release the worry of that. Like you'll figure that out the next season if there's any repercussions. Go try and do the thing.
Totally. Just to give an example, Aries is the ram in astrology. And if you shear a ram, the fur grows back. So that's why Aries is very much about beginning again. The one note I will make for Aries season, and again, I'm a triple Aries, so I'm talking to myself, is that Aries season can kind of lead us to make things hard, because we enjoy the challenge, we enjoy the battle, we enjoy the rub a little bit. And so something that could be interesting to ask yourself as you move through Aries season is, what if this were easy?
What if this were easy? Oh, you're all getting a little glimpse of how Sophia keeps you grounded. So keeping you grounded. So let's talk a little bit about the different signs. So I feel like everyone at least knows their sun sign, usually if they've dabbled a little bit in horoscopes. So can you tell us just about how about the big three essentially?
Yeah,
so like
sure.
what are they? How do they relate to each other? And then I'm sure we can use each other as examples of how they do that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a guinea pig always. So the sun, moon, and rising in astrology is our big three, as Jamie just said. And ultimately, those three aspects of your chart represent your character. They are a great place to start, but I really want to note they are only a tiny piece of your puzzle. That's why it's super helpful and fun to do a birth chart reading and kind of get to understand all the things that make you you. Your sun sign is determined by the month that you were born. Your moon sign is determined by the day that you were born, and your rising sign is determined by the hour and minute that you were born. Our sun sign is our identity. It's our ego, our self-expression, the way we shine, the way people see us. You know, if you think about the sun radiates. The sun shines brightly. The sun is a life force. None of us would be here without the sun. I was talking about daylight savings a second ago. You know, our entire lives revolve around the sun. Our rhythms revolve around the sun. What often people miss when thinking about and learning about the sun in astrology is that it's not just your identity now, it's also who you are becoming. So, you know, for you, Jamie, I imagine that there are aspects of Gemini that you've resonated with your whole life. And also you will continue to grow into and embody that Gemini energy as you get older, because our identity is not fixed. It's fluid. Like Sofia today is different than Sofia 6 months ago was, than Sofia 6 years ago was. So it has to shift and change.
Totally.
You can think of your sun sign as the destination, as where you're going and where you're landing.
I love that though. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like the understanding and owning my Gemini-ness, let's just say, I feel like I've definitely just noticed that over a couple of the past couple of years. So I love thinking of it like it's who you're becoming. But before I go into any further, how does our moon and our rising like kind of help us with that?
Yeah, for sure. So our moon is the opposite of our sun in that it's our internal world. It's our emotional body. It's what nourishes us and what feeds us. It's what makes us feel safe. You know, the sun radiates, the moon reflects. The moon rises at night. Every planet in astrology is associated with a part of the body. The moon rules the belly and the breasts. We feed ourselves by feeding our bellies. Some women breastfeed their babies, right? So again, the moon is what feeds us and what makes us feel like we are stable and taken care of. The moon also represents the mother. The mother is a stereotypical kind of first figure, right? When a baby is born, that makes a child feel safe. So our sun is kind of our public image, if you will, and our moon is all the stuff that's happening underneath the surface. Our rising sign is determined by the zodiac sign that was on the eastern horizon the moment that you were born. So it's determined by, you know, an astrologer, as if they were in the delivery room with you and your mom running to the window and saying, Aquarius, she's an Aquarius. Like that's what that is. And by the way, the rising sign is why astrologers are sticklers about you knowing your birth time. You don't have to have it, but it's super helpful if you do. And just like I spoke about our sun being the destination, who we're becoming, our rising sign is how we get there. It's the lens through which we see the world, the way that we kind of move through life. If you think about the sun as this, you know, big, beautiful, majestic door of a mansion, the rising sign is the gorgeous brick path that takes you there. So sometimes, right, because the rising sign is determined, the sun is rising, it's over the eastern horizon. Sometimes for people, that's actually what they show off first, right? Because they're blinded by the rising sign. It can also kind of reveal how you see the world and how you move through the world. Sun sign, rising sign, one isn't better than the other. It's really about how you pair those two energies together and allow both to exist. I talk to a lot of my clients about turning down the dial on certain energies so that they can create space for other energies to come in. But it's never a question of, you know, ignoring parts of you or diminishing parts of you. We want all of you to be at the table. We just want everybody to have a seat.
Totally. So this is a part of this too, is that so I found out that I wasn't born. I believe I thought I was born at 8:30 and I was born at 9:30 in the morning. And I had to shift I guess it's been 2 years ago now, Sophia. I can't remember when this went on, but I had to switch from what I thought was I was a Sagittarius rising. So I thought I was the traveler, I was the, you know, adventurer, all of these things. And then I found out that I am a Cancer rising. And it was just to be completely vulnerable and sharing. I was like, I don't want to be a Cancer rising.
Oh yeah,
like,
I definitely crushed some dreams that day. I remember you were like, Cancer rising? And I was like, yeah, girl, Cancer rising. But I think you've come to love it.
I have, and I think it's more accurate. So for at least the way I'll describe it, and Sophia will go into more depth, I'm sure, is that a Cancer is very intuitive and with their emotions, especially. Like they love to hold space for others. They have a lot of the kind of a mothering energy, and I think that was a part of what I didn't want when I first, and now I'm going like, okay, I'm happy to be a nurturer. That like that kind of energy that comes from my just in general how I coach. So it's very I've I've accepted
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I will admit, like, I see you as more, I see that Cancer rising in you. I see the Cancer first before I see the Gemini. And again, it's not that you're not a Gemini, it's that the Cancer, right? Like, something that I asked Jamie is, I feel like in every session, I'm always like, okay, James, how does the Cancer support the Gemini, right? So you can see that nurturing, that tending, that family oriented, belonging energy that you have. How does that facilitate your Gemini, your ability to teach, your ability to share information, your desire for learning? Again, like, one energy isn't better than another. It's about how they all blend together. And also, Cancer is a water sign in astrology. You know, water signs are associated with the color blue. I feel like blue is your color. Like, you're wearing blue right now. Your background is blue in 3 different tones, right?
Definitely. And my podcast editor was like, can you
Exactly.
stop wearing blue? You have blue everywhere. You're blending in with your couch.
Yeah, right. But like, your podcast, like, main graphic is blue. Like, I think that's where the curiosity piece comes in, right? It's that astrology opens you up to possibilities of who you could be rather than keeping you living in a very narrowed frame of mind of who you are. That's also why it's fun in terms of, you know, your sun sign is who you're becoming. Because instead of saying, like, okay, I'm a Gemini, this is a Gemini, this is who I am for the rest of my life, you get to play. How am I going to continue to evolve into this energy as I get older?
Totally. Absolutely. And I think that's a big part of even why I would encourage everyone to at least understand their big three, for the fact that if you don't, if for whatever reason you were like, why, I don't know if the sun sign is fully me. It's not. It absolutely isn't. There you have a
Mm-hmm.
moon, you have a rising, and it can all just help you understand how these coincide. And I think again, I'm just gonna, this is a love note to Sophia over and over again, is that I'll
I'm
meet one
honored.
per I'll meet one person, they'll be like, oh, you're in conflict with each other. And I'll be like, I didn't see it that way. And then because they want to like really lean into a very like only one energy can survive if
Yeah.
they're in some ways, versus being able to go, we're all multifaceted beings. Why not also understand we have multifaceted energy that supports us, like having all of that work together. So let me just put it out there of like how I see myself. So like I said, I'm a Gemini sun, a Capricorn moon, and a Cancer rising. So the Cap moon makes perfect sense in a lot of ways. So Cap moon is like CEO. She loves to be organized. She's in general systems leaning. Again, Sophia's going and she'll tell me more. She'll keep
No,
saying.
the fun part is hearing how you're like bringing this to life. I'm sitting here beaming. Please continue.
So I in general know that when, especially even too, when I help clients going like, don't always lean on like you having to be out there. Like, how can you allow the support of just a system of automation of like these small things to help you, but also too, the moon can be a lot about how you take care of yourself. So like a lot of self-care, thinking about
Mm-hmm.
what I think you gave me the metaphor of, if like in general, if you could put something like how, like imagine like your Capricorn is, or not
The
Capricorn,
bathtub.
yeah, bathtub, thank you.
Yeah, you're
See,
welcome.
intuitive, we're leading up with each other.
Yeah.
So playing with how the moon can be that for you. So there have been times where I've been with coaches or just people who just think a little differently, that were like, oh, that like system and structure stuff is too, it's like so masculine, it's a little too much, you should just be able to relax and be in your energy. And I go, I like that, but there's a reason why I like this other thing. And being able to kind of lean into understanding like, oh, it's not my only energy, but it's a supportive energy to me.
Mm-hmm.
But also
Absolutely.
too, the Gemini, I can talk, I can share. I'm endlessly
Yeah.
curious. It makes sense. And I do have a tendency to prefer deep conversation, like a deep, like we're not like small talk is not my favorite thing. I will be someone that instead of just, oh, how's the weather or what's new with you? It's more of like, how is your leadership feeling? Or like like what are you about? Like that deeper emotional connection is something I can feel and see. And the more I've learned about my own big three, I'm like, oh, this is what makes me cool. Like this is what makes me amazing.
Yeah, totally. And this then brings us back to astrology gives you permission to be yourself. We're not meant to be one thing. We're complex. You are allowed to be chatty and want to, be social and go out and do all the things, Gemini. And you're also allowed to want depth, Capricorn, to want intimate connection, Cancer. That is my thing about pop culture astrology and social media astrology. It is great on the one hand because it makes astrology accessible for more people, but it is dangerous because people don't listen to those things with discernment and they take it at face value instead of trusting themselves. And just let me know when I should kind of part the sea and get on my soapbox about astrology being used as a way to limit people and to make people feel afraid. But
I feel like the window is perfect right now.
now's the
Tell
time.
us.
Okay, great. So people have agendas, right? And so what I see a lot with the astrology community is that astrologers hold a knowledge that other people don't have. I would say 9 times out of 10, when I do an astrology reading, my clients look at the chart and are like, what is this weird thing, right? That's my job, to decipher it and interpret it and share it with you. But astrology is meant to support you and empower you. The planets are not out to get you. You have nothing to be afraid of. Life isn't about being easy or simple all the time. It's about how you navigate it. And when you understand what's happening astrologically, it's as if you're getting a weather report. It's as if it's raining outside, so you should probably wear boots and bring an umbrella. What bothers me, clearly everyone can tell that my fire is starting to boil, but what bothers me is that when astrology is shared in a way that is fear mongering, right? Like I had a client a member within my membership community, Cosmic Circle, that you've been mentioning today and are an amazing member of. Somebody shared today, I almost couldn't listen to the astrological weather report this week because I've seen so much on social media about how bad this week is going to be that I was so scared, but I'm so happy I listened to it. Our astrologers have great power and great privilege because we see things and understand things that other people don't see. And also, with my psychology background, I'm also a certified mindfulness meditation teacher, story and the mind is really powerful. If you go into the week thinking the week is going to be terrible, it's probably going to be a really bad week. If you are open-minded and you are just aware of ways to mitigate things that could come up, it's neutral. You allow for good things to happen. You allow for bad or annoying things to happen, which, by the way, could happen regardless of the astrological weather. When people are making you feel afraid or telling you who you are without asking you, they're putting themselves in the power seat when the reality is you know yourself best.
It's beautifully said. Absolutely beautifully said. And I think that's a huge sign of it. Like, again, like if it's raining outside, you don't have to wear boots. You can freaking dance in the rain. You can get it you could absolutely decide to jump in every puddle or whatever it might be. But the idea is that depending on the kind of person you are, you can just prepare a little bit differently. It's a guide. You're not it is a guide to, it is not controlling of what can happen. And I think that is the breath of fresh air that is you. It's me getting to see the retrogrades, the different things that people are so scared about, and just kind of laughing about it, going, huh. Even too, I have so much fun when Mercury's in retrograde, because you usually tell us if there's some tech snafus today, yeah, you can go ahead and blame Mercury. And that's exactly what I'll do. Something, the sound's all off and I'm like, Mercury, guys. And I'll shrug in a Zoom call that's got 30 people in it. And they're like, yeah, Mercury, no big deal. It gets to be just a way to poke fun instead of this awful negative feeling of oh my gosh, we're so screwed until this is gone. That kind of feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I am an astrologer that loves Mercury retrograde. So you heard it here first, friends. It's actually really great energy. And, to your point, it's what I love about Mercury retrogrades is I think they're a really great opportunity to become kinder towards ourselves and to practice self-compassion, because instead of beating yourself up for doing something wrong or something going wrong or, looking stupid on the Zoom because the mute didn't work or whatever, you can just chalk it up to a larger energy. You can give yourself space and time to dot your I's and check or cross your T's. and then you move right along. Instead of, as a recovering perfectionist, instead of spending hours feeling guilty or beating yourself up or worrying, it's like, we're human. We're meant to have cycles. We're meant to have seasons. Mercury retrograde happens like clockwise 3 times a year, because otherwise we would never look back. We would never reflect. We would never slow down. We would never review. So to me, I see them as periods of necessary pause, but not periods where you stop your life. Like, it's funny, I have this workshop that I do called Cosmic Order, and I do it quarterly. Surprise, surprise. I always am launching and like promoting this workshop during Mercury retrograde every single time. And do you want to know what happens every single time? People need time to think about it because it's Mercury retrograde. There's usually at least one like link flip or something. Mercury retrograde. People sign up towards the end of the like promotion period, Mercury retrograde. I don't worry, and I give myself an extra long promotion period because I just know what the weather is. It's not a big deal.
And it's beautiful. And I, again, like at the end of the day, sometimes I will listen to Sophia say like, oh, this is sextile this, and this is, and I'm like, I don't fully understand every detail of where the planets are and how it works. But she goes, because of this, reflect on these things, or because of this, be extra compassionate with yourself. And I was listening to the weather report this morning, and it was like, Neptune's hanging around, and it's telling you to chill, like relax, like we're gonna, like, even though there's a lot happening this week, you're gonna feel like a little confused sometimes, and that's just because Neptune's telling you to relax while you're getting clear on things that you want to do. And I'm like, that's easy to just like take the pressure off of yourself. Like, what's wrong with me? No, there's just energy that's kind of playing with me a little bit this week.
Yeah, like that's what people don't realize about the planets, is that like the planets activate us in certain ways because the planets want to get their way. So what I shared in this week's astrological weather report about Neptune, as Jamie just mentioned, Neptune wants us to be and wants us to rest and wants us to slow down and to get creative and imagine. So what Neptune does is that Neptune makes you sometimes feel confused or foggy, like you can't get the words out, have, low energy, so that you do everything that it wants, right? It's like Neptune is creating a container to get its way. If you lean into it, then it's not like a cage, right? You're like, oh yeah, like this is what's on the agenda for me this week.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
like the planets aren't malicious. They're just like us. And when they want to get their way, they rig the odds in their favor.
I love it. Oh, it's so good. It's so helpful. Again, I feel grounded every time I'm checking in. But I think this plays into it, is that we're pretty much talking about cosmic circle left and right because I love it, and I'm happy to push it because it's fantastic. But I think that it has been instrumental in helping me have what feels like a nourishing spirituality kind of routine, like understanding, like, and part of that is, yes, like taking a beat to go like, what is the energy of the week? How can I think about what I want, what I need within these parameters, and all of the above. But I would love for you to kind of put that to us. What would you say is like an empowering astrological ritual routine that we can start to consider for our lives?
So, my woman, the person that I work with and support, she's practical, she's ambitious, and she's also spiritually curious. So, I see that in you very much. And also just it's like, I love this question because it's like, how can I be open to the part of me that wants to know? The way that I work with the cosmos, that I would love to, extend to all of your listeners and to you, is to dip in and dip out. Dip into what's happening astrologically, be aware, get present for the sake of curiosity. Because by the way, the main thing that happens when you realize that you're influenced by what's happening astrologically is that you're like lit up because you're like, wait, shoot, I'm like connected to this stuff. Like astrology helps you see that you're a part of something bigger. Like that's the juice. That's the end game. So dip in so that you can get curious, and then dip out. Let it go. If you are death gripping what's happening astrologically, if you are death gripping the energy, your moon sign, what you need, what the person you're dating, whatever, it is no longer serving you. It is becoming yet another thing that you're gripping to that's preventing you from trusting your own inner authority. Like that's the way that you work with astrology, and you start a ritual. You dip in so that you can get curious, and you dip out. The point of astrology is so that you can worry less, enjoy your life more, and get excited about what's to come because you know that you're guided and supported and there's something going on here. If astrology is causing you to worry more and doubt yourself less and robs you of your own control to move through life as you see fit, that is a problem. And I am probably the only astrologer who will tell you that maybe astrology sometimes is not the best tool for you because it's not supporting you. So use it in a way that feels healthy for you. And I think we all know when astrology or when any tool, honestly, is helping us versus hindering us. This, for whatever reason, this feels like the perfect time because I always get asked about astrology apps. I am not anti-astrology app. And I want you to use those apps with discernment because people go on the apps, especially like I'm forgetting the Pattern, which is the partnership one.
Mm-hmm.
And, they feel a connection with somebody, they have a great date, all this stuff. And then they go on the Pattern, they read something, and then they're like, oh, can't see that person anymore. It's an algorithm. It's an algorithm. So, again, it's like the apps are something that allow you to dip in and dip out. Cool. If they aren't, I want you to get rid of it.
Yeah, I definitely have the Pattern too, even, but it's like, it's just fun. It's like, it's
got to be fun. And that's, I think too, like if somebody's like, I don't really know what dip in and dip out looks like, have fun. That's like the end all be all. If it doesn't feel fun anymore, put it away.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Encourage you to come back to it because I'm an astrologer, obviously, but like, that's my lens on the world. You know best.
Beautiful. No, exactly. I mean, astrology should never be limiting. It should help you feel limitless.
I like what you did.
I didn't try it. I swear I didn't try it.
I like it. And yeah, in terms of ways that I can help listeners dip in and dip out, I have what I think is this really amazing membership community. It is called Cosmic Circle, and it is a space where you can come, and every week I share an astrological weather report with you from this perspective of how can you use astrology to empower you? How can you use it to get prepared for the week ahead? And how can you cut through all the fear mongering and have a place where you can come and be like, okay, I know that this is a trusted source. I know that it is designed for me and, shared in a way that is meant to boost me up rather than make me afraid for what's to come. I share it every week via email. It is a space that is really designed for you. And it is the perfect container to, as I said before, my words, like dip in and dip out. You have it every single week. You now have the transcripts for the audio. And it's just a place that I've really designed so that astrology is easily accessible. It's fun. It's something that you can explore and get curious with. And it's also, not an extra 20 hours in your day. And it's more personal than an app, which is an algorithm.
And I highly recommend it. I feel like I've been over a year now. It's beautiful. It's an amazing. It's something that I look forward to. Even too, I'll miss the weather report on Monday because she always puts them out on Mondays for us, and I'll get to it on like Wednesday, and she'll have it'll be fun when she describes my Monday and Tuesday to me, like the energy of Monday and Tuesday. I'm like, oh yeah, that is exactly how I felt those days. And then there's a response from the community going, this is how this manifested for me. This is how I'm like using it and looking for it for me. And it's again, like I feel like it's the bright side of looking at astrology. It's like, oh, okay, I can see how this will help me almost give myself permission to relax about this particular thing I've been worried about lately. And it's fun to see how we all just get to relate to each other in that way. Because I think last week there was a Virgo full moon.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And it was funny that she was describing, Pisces, you might like look into your spirituality. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's funny how in Virgo is somebody who likes to be systematized, organized, that type of thing. And I'm like, and I was like, it's funny. I just made a habit tracker for my spiritual practice. So how kismet does that all work out?
Yeah, I was like, of course you did, Jamie. Of course you did. Yeah, people really felt that moon. People really felt that moon. It was a doozy of the doozes. And like, that's a thing I think too, that I see a lot on social media, because social media is like the main outlet that people look to for astrology content. So much of it is wrong. Like, I'm shocked. Like, I'm like, what? Like, this is not real. And also, a lot of people who are into astrology talk about astrology on their stories as if they're astrology experts. And then it just fuels this cycle of misinformation that I feel like last week I spent so much time not like knocking other people, but being like, hi, like, let me just clarify what is actually happening. And then like we can carry on, So I think that's also a benefit of Cosmic Circle, or just following me on Instagram, following me on LinkedIn, just being in my world, is that, I'm a trained astrologer. I take continuing education all the time. I did a year of mentorship with an astrologer that had been in practice for 40 years. Like, I'm very committed to my craft and my work, and I'm never going to gaslight you or share things that are just not factual. But you will see that a lot of places.
For the record, I've been slowly and trying to encourage Sophia to like be that voice over on TikTok and whatever. She's like, I'm not that into TikTok. I'm like, whenever you're ready. I know there's people you can tell them that they're wrong, because that'll be so fun to see it.
Oh my God, I can't wait. And maybe one day. And yeah,
maybe one day, when you'll do it when you're ready. You're that Aries who will tell me when she doesn't want to, when she does.
Right. Exactly. And like, I'll just say too, because this is admittedly like one of my sensitivities when it comes to, being an entrepreneur or social media or all those things. Like, there are so many astrologers out there that are epic meme astrologers, and I am just not that. Mm-hmm. Like, I can obviously appreciate a great meme and a great astrology meme. And I used to be really self-conscious, but like, a benefit of astrology is that I know my strengths. And so I don't pay attention to the things anymore that don't feel good to me, right? Like, I'm not going to put myself in a situation that makes me feel like a ding dong versus like feeling empowered. And so like, I just own, I'm like, yeah, like, I'm just not that cool. Like, I'm not meme cool, but if you want like a little, I don't even know what, like a little spicy, like down to earth, very practical, grounded, I got you. But like, can also recommend some astrologers that do A+ meme content.
I'll take it. And also too, I'll still hold on. I'll hold out for the day that you showed this, that spicy side and on TikTok too.
Yeah, maybe. I feel inspired. Maybe.
Yeah. You are giving me so much of your time, and I'm so happy that you got to share a lot of what it is. We'll make sure to include all of Sophia's socials, and I even encourage you to hop onto the newsletter if you don't decide to do the Cosmic Circle. We'll include all of that in there, because she gives this, again, I'm going to call you the bright side of astrology. That's what I've decided.
Thank you.
I've decided today.
My Aries sun is so flattered and feels very seen.
I love it. We'll make sure to include all of those links, but I would love to just finish this time together off. What would you how would you define limitlessness? How would you define limitless?
I would define limitless as being open to all the possibilities of who you can be and what your life can be like.
Beautiful. Amazing. Sophia, thank you so much for spending your time today. I feel like you shared where we could connect with you, but feel free to do it one more time with us.
Thank you for having me. This has been so fun. Definitely follow me on Instagram, connect with me on LinkedIn. I also have a newsletter. It's where I share all of my big updates, all of my, big intel first. Join Cosmic Circle, lots of exciting things in the works. And I just have loved today. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.